10 Most Expensive Screenplays and Stories Behind Them. Screenwriting is a tough business. It seems like everyone in Hollywood is working a movie script, even people who have normal jobs outside the entertainment world. Walk into an LA coffee shop at any time of day or night, and you'll see plenty of people hunched over Apple laptops trying their best to churn out the next Avatar or Django Unchained. Even though it is a very competitive field, every once in a while a writer gets lucky and sells their script to a studio for potential development. The majority of scripts are purchased for less than $100,000, but there have been several that earned small fortunes. Number 1. Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is a classic. It is almost impossible for you to go anywhere around the world and find a person who has not seen Jurassic Park at any point in their life. Maybe some people have watched the newer ones, but the first one is a classic, and that is where the entire story began. A lot of times, when they sell their screenplays to the studio, the writers will only get a fee, but Jurassic Park author Michael Crichton had a good idea of how much his story would sell, so he accepted a mere $1.5 million fee from the studio. Nevertheless, he also got a cut of the gross after the movie was released, which in this instance means a cut of the $400 million it made in the box office. Number 2. A Knight's Tale. Next in line, we have another classic. Although it did not make as much money in the box office as Jurassic Park did, 2001's A Knight's Tale earned its author Brian Helgeland a hefty $2.5 million once he sold the script to the studio. The movie went on to make $65 million in the box office, which is less than $10 million more than its budget. It also got a bunch of mixed reviews, but for the people who loved it, the movie became a cult classic, much because of the influence of the performance put in by Heath Ledger as William Thatcher. Number 3. Mozart and the Whale. Sometimes film studios and directors are happy putting out a product that they know will be recognized in award ceremonies and will become a cult classic in the future once people realize how much of a genius of a project that was. That is how many of them deal with not taking money, or in this case, losing a lot of money when making a movie. Ronald Bass made $2.75 million with his script of Mozart and the Whale, which makes us think that the movie would have been quite successful. No. At the end of the day, this was a disappointing motion picture that made the studio less than $100,000 in the box office. Number 4. Medicine Man. It is not guaranteed that you will nail another Academy Award-winning performance after you write a script that wins the award. Nevertheless, it is pretty much guaranteed that you can get a huge payday when selling your next script following such a victory. That is what happened with Tom Shulman after Dead Poets Society won the big prize. He wrote the script for Medicine Man and received a hefty $3 million for his work. Don't get us wrong, the movie wasn't a huge flop. Still, it had a budget of $46 million, but only gave the studio a return of around $45 million. It wasn't a huge flop, but it certainly wasn't the kind of script you would want to pay $3 million for. Number 5. Basic Instinct. We started talking about major movies early on as we mentioned Jurassic Park, and as you could have very well guessed, we will not be slowing down in terms of mentioning movies you have likely watched. A lot of people reading might not have even been alive when Basic Instinct came out in 1992, but there is a good chance you have heard at least once or twice about Sharon Stone's performance in that movie. Leaving her legendary performance aside, the movie was a gigantic hit in the box office. It made a whopping $118 million, more than double its $49 million budget. It was well worth the $3 million they paid author Joe Esteras. Number 6. Eurotrip. A lot of movies fall into the category that you either love or you hate. That is especially true when it comes to raunchy comedies. Eurotrip was no different, as it was not a gigantic hit in the box office, nor did it make a huge splash with critics when it hit the big screen. Nevertheless, the people who loved that movie adore it like a religion. Yeah, it is not the kind of movie you are going to watch with your kids, but for people who are looking for a comedic relief on a Saturday afternoon, there is nothing wrong with going with Eurotrip. The movie made $18 million but had a budget of $25 million. Yeah, not the kind of thing the studio would do again. Same with the $4 million writer's fee they paid the author for the script. Number 7. The Long Kiss Goodnight. Shane Black certainly got a lot of star power to bring to life the characters he wrote in The Long Kiss Goodnight, as Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson starred in the motion picture. This is a movie that received good reviews when it came to critics. Unfortunately for the author, and especially for the movie studio, it did not receive as many good reviews when it came to the audience, which is who actually pays for the project at the end of the day. The result was that they pulled in $33 million from the box office, but actually had to spend $65 million on the budget of the film. Number 8. Talladega Nights. We talked about the movie industry as having a lot of you either love it or hate motion pictures. When it comes to comedy, a lot of that has to do with the actors who are going to bring the movie to life. This goes up to a whole other level if you are writing a script and you are going to put yourself in the movie. Nevertheless, this is common ground for a few of the most famous comedy actors in the world, as is Will Ferrell. He wrote Talladega Nights alongside Adam McKay, and they made a good $4 million off of that script. Still, while that special number was not enough to earn good returns for some movies on our list, apparently Ferrell has more people who love him than who hate his brand of comedy. This motion picture pulled in a ridiculous $148 million, more than recovering the $72 million it was budgeted for. Number 10. Deja Vu. Writing a sci-fi plot that is engaging and surprising is already hard enough as it is. To put time travel in the middle of it and to make people like it seems like an impossible task. Nevertheless, this is what happened with Deja Vu in 2006. The movie starring Denzel Washington was a big hit despite the fact that it did not recover its $75 million budget, as it only made $64 million in the box office. Still, it was one of those movies that everyone who watched is not going to forget. Another reason for you not to forget about it is that the authors Bill Marsili and Terry Rossio received a writer's fee of $5 million for the script they wrote for the movie.